Hey everybody, this is part two on hyperfarming, and in this video I just quickly want to go over a few things that were not covered in the first video, and I also want to talk quickly about specifically being a food hyper. So the first thing that I want to show you guys is research. So if you're going to be a hyper, you're going to want to get these as close to 10 as you can, depending on which type you are. So this is my food account. So this one's 9 out of 10, and probably I can't research it because I need Academy 25. Yeah, so, and in this account, I'm never going to get this to Academy 25, so I'm not worried about that. And plus, I make a lot of food anyway, as it is. So let's just look at, yeah, I make almost 2 million food per hour. So I'm looking at I'm making over 40 million food a day, if I need it, which I usually typically I log in this account once or twice a day. Um, because I don't even with all my six accounts, I don't use 40 million food. I usually use maybe about half of that. So I'm not really worried about this account too much, uh, and it doesn't get robbed as much. Like you'll notice this too if you have a food account that it won't. A lot of players won't just attack for food. Yeah, I mean if I leave troops out, yeah, I mean I'm probably going to get even 5,000 troops. You're still going to get hit because they're going to want those kills. But typically players only want food when they're ready to train. When they have their training gear on, they got their training talent set, they got their training boost going. So typically you're not going to get, if you're a food hyper, you're not going to get attacked as much as if you were, a stone wood or hyper. If you've got 14 million ore out, you're definitely going to get attacked for that. But for food, typically they'll see that and because they're just going to lose, a lot of these guys, their food's running, they're losing 5,000 per second or something because they have so many troops, and they're just going to lose it anyway. Um, so let's just talk quickly about being a food hyper. Okay, if you're a food hyper, and it's not sexy to be a food hyper because and a lot of players will, they'll kind of laugh at you if you tell them you're a food hyper, because usually, especially in smaller guilds, there's enough food to go around typically. But if you're in a big guild and say you have a billion might player, you have some big players that lose, they'll lose 50 million troop might per week or whatever, they'll lose a huge amount. They're going to need 500 million food. They're going to need a ton of food to rebuild those troops. So that's when, being a food hyper is very important because a lot of guys bag food is very low because they can't hold it. They're running at zero, and when they go to heal, they're pulling out their bag food. They're having to dip in their bags to heal, and so when they train, they need that food in bulk. They'll need 500 million, or they'll need a billion food, or how many. They're going to train they're going to train million or 2 million T4, and they're going to need tons of food, and that's when being a food hyper is very important. And it's just as important as all the other hypers. But it's not as sexy to be a food hyper because you can't have any troops. You can't fight. So to be a food hyper, you really have to be somewhat self-sacrificing in that you're going to say, I'm doing this for the guild. It's almost like being the bank. It's very similar to being a food hyper, where you're saying, I'm just going to shield all the time. I'm not going to fight. I'm not going to have troops. So that's what you have to consider if you want to be a food hyper. You can't be a fighter too, if that's your main account. So you're going to have to go in. You're going to have to go in and you're going to have to um, set up a camp with all your troops and then have somebody attack it. So you'll go ahead and just set up a camp, and then you're going to have somebody go and attack it and just send all your troops to the infirmary, and then that will allow your food be positive. So you can continuously make food and and then send that to the players that need it. But since I've very few troops in this account, so I just go ahead and shelter them, and I'm okay because I'm not, I just have a few T1s. So that's what you're going to have to decide if you're going to be a food hyper. You're not going to be able to fight. Um, and the benefit of being a food hyper is that you can. I have a few infirms here, because sometimes what I do with this account is I'll make 50,000 T1, and then I'll have people hit my castle for free T1 kills, and people can build up their kill rates like that. And you can do that as a business too. You can say, well, I'll give you a certain amount of kills for a certain amount of gems, and then they can gift you. You can also do that if you're doing a food hyper. You can do stuff like that. And but the big benefit of doing it is that you can be all manners. You don't have to have any infirms at all. You can just hammer gold. Like I could upgrade all these. I could start really making a ton of gold with this account as well. But, it's like anything else. If you go over what's protected, if you go over this 3 million, and somebody scouts you, then they're gonna steal the gold. But that's one of the benefits of being a food hyper, is that you can be all manners and you don't have to worry about healing troops. And another good thing about being a food hyper, or having a food hyper, is that you can, let me just collect these. You can use this account to attack your main, or attack in another account, and then give them your hero so that they can get that stat boost of having a hero. So that's typically what I do with this account, is I'll go ahead and I'll leave the guild for a minute, and I'll attack my main with this account. I'll attack my main, and then it'll have that boost, and then I'll rejoin the guild, and then I'll send my when I'm done fighting, then I'll send my leader back to this account. But having that boost whenever I'm ready, So I don't have to go out and, hunt for leaders. I can, if somebody wants to make a rally, right then, I can just send that leader in my main, go out, hit that rally, have that boost, and then I'm ready to go. So having a food hyper is very, very, very important. It's not sexy. People are gonna everybody has a little smirk, when you say you're a food hyper, but it's very necessary to have at least one food hyper in a guild. If it's a very big guild, you're gonna need more, or obviously you'll have a sub guild. You'll probably have a sub guild that has several food hypers in it, but it's very, very important, and it serves a lot of different purposes. Like I said, you're making food. Um, you can attack it for, easy T1 kills. I can just attack it, send it some resources, heal up real quick, attack it again. You can get 10 million kills, in a couple hours. You can get 10 million kills, and you know, yeah, I mean your might destroyed is not going to be there. Your might destroyed. If you look at that, like let's look at regimes might destroyed. Yeah, see, you're going to have a lot of kills, but that's going to show up in your might. If you're only killing T1, you're going to see that. You're going to have a very low might destroyed. You're going to have high kill rate, but then this is going to be real low. So people who know the game are going to know, but most people who look at kills, they'll just look at kills and say, you know, oh my God, you have 100 million kills. That's really cool. Um, so there's a lot of different things, and then you can send people your leader with it as well, because you're not going to be fighting. So there's a lot of different purposes for having a food hyper. Um, just make sure the most important thing is that you send all your troops, you wound all your troops, or you just go ahead and you can also dismiss them. If you want to do that as well, you can. Uh, I'll show you how to do that real quick. You can go in and just, yeah, you can dismiss. Just take that there. If you don't want to have any infirms, then just go ahead and dismiss them. But I think that pretty well covers uh, how to set up a hyper account with all these different all these different types. And as you can see, food is a little different, so you have to be a little, you have to be very nice and self-sacrificing type person to be a food hyper. So, but anyway, I hope that helped everybody out, and let me know if you have any questions.